Hi, everyone. Welcome to All About the Joy. I'm Carmen Lisa, your host, and this is the Private Lounge. Okay, perfect. Hey, welcome to the show, Maynard. I'm so glad to have you here and to meet you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you as well, Carmen. And, I want to thank you for having me on your show. And it's a pleasure.
Well, let me just say first, though, that you've been following us on LinkedIn, and I just want to say thank you for your support on our podcast and on our page on LinkedIn. So thank you for that. But I also find you fascinating. So I'm going to gush over you just a little bit because I learned so much about you. I had no idea of your background. But first, let me say that you're here because you're promoting your film that's available on Amazon.com. It's also available at your website, which I will put here at the bottom. And it's called The Sanctuary. Yes. And I did get to watch it. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But you are an actor, director, producer, writer. But before all of that, this is the thing that's killing me, is you were a police officer, you're in the U.S. Navy, you're a black belt. How did you decide in 2018 to get into Hollywood?
Actually, it's very interesting because it was by accident. At that time, I just retired. I retired from the police department in 2017. Okay. So at that point, I didn't want to work anymore. I said, I'm just going to cruise and, enjoy. And then I accidentally met a casting director in Las Vegas. So we're talking, and she actually offered to book me a background role. And I said no, because I don't have any film experience or any type of film background in school. And she asked me one question. She said, well, can you follow orders? So I said, well, yeah, I did that for so many years. So she was able to convince me. And then she booked me for the This Is Us Vegas episode. And I said, oh,
yes, this is incredible.
Yeah, so I was just, I did my background and my background work, and then, you're just lounging around, then they feed you, and then when they're ready for you, they tell you to come in. And I was like, oh, this is not even a job. I mean, compared to the jobs that I did. So I said, I can do this. And so I was doing that. And on the third month, I was doing a background for this Chinese TV series in Hong Kong called 7 Days. And then they made me a cop.
Okay.
So I said, oh, no, you did not do that. So on the third day, the stunt director came up to me. He said, you got some skills. So, well, yeah, I was a cop for many years. And if you tell me to search a room, I know exactly what to do. And he's like, I could see that. So the director came up to me, gave me a piece of paper with like 8 lines. He said, you have 3 minutes to memorize this. I said, okay. So I was able to memorize it. 3 minutes, came back, took the paper and said, let me hear it. So I was able to say it. And then they mic'd me up. He said, you're it. So I got nervous. I started walking in circles. I was like, I can't mess this up because now they could hear every single word I say. So... Right. But when they said action, I just went for it. And I love that feeling of being vulnerable in front of the camera. And that's when it all started.
First of all, I'm so jealous because I love your joy in it. And it's interesting because you said it doesn't feel like work.
Yes.
I mean, that must be a clue right there that you're supposed to be doing this, Is that when you got your SAG card, is during these 8 lines?
No, actually, this is a very interesting casting because I never submitted for it. And then a casting director reached out to me from Casting Networks. She's from New York. And she said, hey, we have a documentary of Jimmy Chin. Can we use you?
I don't know who that is.
He is a famous mountain climber and a photographer.
Oh, okay.
So he was climbing the Mount Grand Teton. in Wyoming. And then the guys, and then I said, of course, I said yes. And then he said, can you get to Wyoming in 2 days? Because we need you there. I said, yeah, sure. And then they said, we'll, reimburse you. So I drove 11 hours. He said, we'll send you your contract. It's a Taft-Hartley SAG contract. I had no clue what that was. So I was Googling SAG. I said, what is SAG? I don't even know that. Right. So when I got there, they did all the paperwork. So I started researching about SAG. And then I called them up. I said, hey, look, they booked me on this role. And they said, I'm going to be eligible for SAG. And I was there for 8 days in Wyoming. Treated very nicely. And then SAG said, yeah, all we need is the paperwork and you can be a member. And that's how I joined. And that was in my first year also. Yeah.
Wait. And the dues.
Yes.
They want their initial $3,000 or whatever it is. But
well, that production was generous and I was paid well. And I said, you know what? I think this is the actor's dream. Why wouldn't I do it? Because even though I had very limited experience at that time, I was only acting for maybe 6 months. And
I think a lot of actors who might be watching this are going to hate you because that doesn't happen that way. 6 months is not, that is nothing, and you're talking about you have no experience, etc. I think it's a beautiful story, though. I'm jealous, but like in all the great, wonderful, beautiful ways for you.
Thank you. Well, I feel very blessed, and that opportunity came in at an early time in my career. And I took advantage of that opportunity because, this is going to be good for my career later on. And so I went for it.
So you won acting awards for projects like The Business Trip,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
But the movie, The Sanctuary, marks your feature directorial debut. So first I wanted to ask you, what was the biggest culture shock for you moving from acting to sitting to the director's chair? And when did you make that decision? Because here you are excited about doing background work, becoming SAG, getting on a film, getting Taft-Hartleyed. So how did you make that transition? When did it happen that you decided you wanted to direct a film?
Well, so I wrote the script, and this script is close to heart. There was a point in my life where I was homeless for a few months, and I was sleeping outside the church so I could get by the night. And then I tried to see my kids. I was divorced at that time and I just left the military. And then when I wrote the script, I made sure that the audience will have that feeling how to be a homeless, because it's a very tough situation. And at the same time, this is actually by accident. I wrote the script before all the protests about immigration started. And then
with ICE, because the film does touch on a lot of issues regarding immigration and homelessness, but it also has really good positive themes to it too. Yes. So I just want to explain to the audience, but the audience should just go watch it. And again, I'm linking it here at the bottom.
Yes. So I wrote the script, and then after I wrote the script, I started asking people, because I don't have any experience as a director. So I approached a couple of potential directors that would help me out, and they declined, which motivated me more, because the word that I got is like, well, I really don't want to associate my name with a mediocre film. So I think it's my personality. When people say no, that's when I start working. And it motivated me. You know what? I'm going to direct it. So what I did was I went and got a professional DP/editor. And then I reached out to the UNLV film department. And this UNLV student.
That's the University of Las Vegas, for people who don't know.
And so they gave me the full team. So I made one of the student who's a film major. I said, can you be my AD? Because I have no idea on what I'm doing here. And yeah, his name is Kale Chazelle. I just want to give him that credit.
Let me just and I'm only interrupting you because so many people are not in the business that are part of our audience. So when you say AD, you mean assistant director.
Yes.
So you're having somebody be your assistant director, which is a normal thing on a film, but you're using this person more as somebody to help you be a director as well, is what you're saying.
Correct. Because he has more knowledge than me because he's in his third year, I believe, in film school. So I showed them the script, and the script was not in a script format because I'm not a script writer, right? And then they said, well, I wrote it for 97 pages, and the goal is 60 minutes because I know I've done some research, and I said it has to be more than 60 minutes so I don't fall into that void of 30 to 60 minutes, which is it a short? Is it a feature? I want to make it clear it's a feature. And they're like, well, I can't really tell because your script is not in a script format. But then I asked the DP, and then I asked everyone in the team. I say, can you make it work? Can you extend this to more than 60 minutes? And they all agreed that it's going to work. So I said, let's do it. So we started doing it, we started planning, and then of course, I'm everything on this film. I'm the wardrobe, I'm the caterer, I'm the makeup artist, right?
Well, with here's the thing: you're a true independent filmmaker, and I think one of the things that's really inspiring that I hope people get out of this story about meeting you is not only that you have a I don't know, third act, right? That you've changed from you were in the Navy, you were a mechanical engineer, you were a police officer, you were all these things. And now you have this new act. And so it's never too late to do something. But the other part of this is when people resist you and say, no, you turn around and say, yeah, I'm going to do it anyways. And you're finding a way to do it. And I admire this so much. It's so inspiring. And so I'm gushing over you because I really feel like you're one of these inspiring stories that people need to understand. It's not over till it's over.
Yes. That's because my goal in my mind is very clear. Whatever it takes, I will do it. I will make it happen. So I was able to gather. Actually, one of my kind of glamorous job right now, I'm a part-time inspector for the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So I work with the UFC fights, boxing, big-time boxing.
It doesn't sound glamorous to me, but I understand.
So I reached out to a few of my coworkers. I said, hey, I have this idea, and would you like to produce it with me? And so they agreed.
Oh, wow.
And we all put our money together. I said, this is how much it's going to cost. And this is learning from scratch. I had to do a marketing plan. I had to do the budgeting. I had to do the pitch deck, which I had no idea how to do a pitch deck. So I learned from the scratch. And once I had all that in place, then we all signed the contract together. We're friends. And I told them, I said, we're not here to screw each other. We're here to make a film, and we're going to showcase it. And they have cameo roles, of course, because they wanted to be in the film as well. And they were a lot of first timers in this film. Yeah.
That's a great opportunity. Yes. You gave people great opportunities too. And this is one of my questions I had about the film, but I was like, why is he portraying ICE this way without the masks? But it's because you did it before what's happening now, which is so interesting that you almost foresaw that. You saw that before.
Yes, I was very surprised when the story became like to the T. Like this is exactly what happened in Minneapolis. There was no intention of trying to do the real story, but it just became like that, and unfortunately that happened. But in this movie, we are not highlighting any bad people on both sides. If you watch it, it's the truth. It's the situation that's being highlighted. No.
Well, I'm going to stop you because you have your point of view. I'm going to give you my point of view. The story isn't just about that. It's also, it's about love.
Yes.
It's about family. It's about heartbreak. It's about, there's grieving, losing someone you love. I'm not giving away any spoilers or whatever, but I feel like it's not just about ICE. That's just one small segment of it. It's also about homelessness and, the friendships you make in that community. I feel like that's the part of this. We have this weird idea of what homelessness is. And I think one of the things that you bridge really well is the community that's developed within people who are struggling in the same way and find themselves on the street. There's that sense of love and friendship between people, right? Especially because in the film, I didn't realize this, but well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but you go and help a little girl,
Yes.
Who is suffering, and you help her because of your expertise in the film. And it's a really touching moment, the community, the love. And so I think the film has a lot of different themes to it. I don't want people to think it's all negative. There is a sadness to it because you realize we're living this now.
And I think a lot of people can relate to the different circumstances that happened in that film. Like what you said, it's about grief and how do you cope with it. And my role, James, is coping in a way where I had to interact with the homeless. And I think different people have different coping mechanisms when it comes to grief. And that was my way. And then because I was lost, and then I found light in that sanctuary, which is the sanctuary of the homeless. That's what it is.
Of the community.
Yes, the community.
Of the community.
Yes.
That's kind of what I found. I don't want to say beautiful about the film. It really did touch upon me in a really profound way watching it. I want to switch it for a moment to get off the topic of homelessness. I want people to I talk about this all the time when it comes to homelessness. People have a different idea of what homelessness means and they don't get it. It's real people who love and feel and hurt and have pain and are struggling to try to move through the situation they're in. And anyone, as your film portrays, can find themselves in this situation based on one moment in time. But I want to also stress there's a storyline about the ICE agent, the captain or I forget which I thought was also interesting because we see his point of view. He goes home and he's struggling with the decisions he has to make. Again, I find it fascinating that you wrote this before all this was happening. I really think that's amazing.
And I think even because I have a law enforcement background, law enforcement officers, they do have their own point of view, but they have a job to do, which you have to. Does it make it wrong to do the job? Not exactly, because it could be justified. The law is the law. It's in black and white. But then again, the human side of it. How do you affect people on these types of situations? And I think a lot of...
How did you deal with it as a cop? How did you deal with it as a cop?
You deal it the best way that you can that is not going to create any more problem to the people that you're dealing with, because you are there to solve the problem, not to inflate the problem. So, there's a lot of respect that you have to show and a lot of compassion. And from my background, when I was in patrol, this is one of the very first thing I was taught, that you need to understand those people and why they are in that particular situation. Because we dealt with the homeless as well, and rehab and things like that, and you try to get the best solution possible for them.
Maynard, does it disappoint you when I'm a Black Latina woman, so I have my issues with cops. I just do. You're my second friend now. I have a really good friend, Kelly, who was in the FBI, also a cop here in Los Angeles. And she left and is also an actor, which is really I don't know what's happening in the water of the police departments, but I thought that was fascinating. But I ask you this question because does it disappoint you when you see some of what I'm going to call bad cops out
Of
there
course.
that are,
Yeah.
of
Yes.
course, okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Because probably 99% of cops are good cops. They have good intentions. They're there to do the job the best that they can. But of course, like any other jobs, there's going to be some bad ones, unfortunately. The thing is that being in the law enforcement, you're more highlighted compared to other careers because you represent the country. And,
right,
uh, having those situations, cops being arrested for something bad that they did, of course, it's heartbreaking. I wish that it wouldn't happen or it will not happen. But then again, it's not perfect because you're dealing with people that are coming from different backgrounds and different beliefs. And unfortunately, some of them grew up in a situation where it's not it's not ideal to become a police officer and they get
right.
accepted.
Yeah, and I don't mean to put that all on you, like you need to answer for all cops, but it's just something I'm curious about because, how often do I get to speak to former police officers? Like, so it's just interesting. When you were casting for your film, did you find that a difficult process? I know you said that a lot of the people that invested in the film that are friends with you were also added to the film, but you have some very well qualified, beautiful actors in that film, especially the little
Yes,
girl.
yes. I handpicked the actors, the main cast, because all the cameo, little roles, they're gonna do their thing the best that they can because they're first timers. But my top cast, they need to know how to cry because this film has a lot has a lot of that. Uh,
Right.
they need to be able to portray that emotion in the film.
Yeah.
And Jobel Salvador, she's a famous actress in the Philippines. She happened to be living in Vegas. I approached her and asked her if she wanted to be in the film because she hasn't made a movie in quite a while. And I said, "Oh, it's a little low budget." And she told me, this is way below my talent fee. And I said, I understand. So I was able to negotiate that with an executive producer
Oh,
contract,
wonderful.
and so she did it. So I was really happy for that because I know she's a great actress. And then Jasmine Davis is my coworker, and it's her first time. And then also,
Oh,
and
wow.
then also, Izzy, the little girl, Aria Isabella Young. It's her first time. I think I found gold in the sand from
Yeah.
her. Like this girl acted for the first time, and she's amazing. I mean, the set awareness of this girl when she's on set, she's not only talking about because most actors they just worry about their lines and do their thing. This girl's like, oh,
Right.
she's supposed to come in, right? And I think that's not supposed to be in the frame. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is yeah. So
Wow.
she's not only an actress, but she's a lot of help with her set awareness,
Right.
and then I knew exactly that what was going to be portrayed by her it's going to be great. And that's why at the very end of
Yeah.
the film she has the highlight on that situation.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people because she developed that love with James,
Right.
and I
Right.
think the audience will relate to that. She found hope, but then it was cut short. uh,
Right. I don't
yes.
tell anybody
Yes.
nothing. So here's my question though. Did you find it difficult? See, I think this is hard for someone to do to be a director and then also be the actor on set, right? Did you find that difficult or did you enjoy that process? I'm just
Actually,
curious.
I found it very difficult but I enjoyed it and I learned doing that film. Because when you act, you do your thing in front of the camera and you're relying on the director
Mhm.
on how it is going to come out.
Right.
Directing gave me a different point of view when I was acting, like
Mhm.
towards the middle of that, of those film days. I started seeing myself while I am acting. I knew exactly what I look like on camera because I said, oh, okay, so now I'm more aware what are the angles and how is it going to
Right.
come out, and it's all in my head while I'm before going into action. And
Right.
I think most actors should try that because it gives you a different view on how you act.
Perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. I know that you've already won an award at one of the festivals. I couldn't find it. What was the festival you won it
Actually,
at?
I got it right here. We won the Telly Awards, the Silver Telly Awards for Best Drama, uh, in 2026. Yeah,
Fantastic.
so I brought it here with me.
Oh,
Thank you, thank
congratulations.
you. And
Wow.
then
Can I, you know what? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was going to ask you from when you started the process, the idea of this film to actually putting it out there, how long did that take? Because a lot of people think, we think of a film and then 3 months later it's shown on HBO or
No,
something, and that's not how it
I
happens.
also learned that it's a long process. So from writing to shooting to editing, it's more than a year. And
Mhm.
but I knew one thing. I said this film, I want it to compete because
Yeah.
of the actors that I picked. I said I think it's more than capable to compete. So that was my goal. But unfortunately, a lot of festivals don't want to touch it because of the subject, which is okay. And it kind of happened backwards because usually you go to festival and then find distribution. Well, we found distribution before the festivals. So
Oh,
it kind
wow.
of disqualified us on most festivals that we submitted because we're
Oh,
submitted to Toronto. But now the film is available on Amazon Prime for
right.
rent or purchase. So kind of eliminated that option. But it's a good thing because now it's out there, so a lot of people can see it.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
because before the festival circuit that we submitted started, uh, Indie Rights had bought the distribution rights for the Sanctuary. And
Wow.
I actually had a couple of options because Buffalo 8 offered me a contract as well, but Indie Rights gave me the best option. So I
Okay.
talked to my friends who produced the film, and they said, we're going to go with Indie Rights. And Indie Rights was very transparent on a lot of things. And I said,
Mhm.
you know what? Let's do it. So 2 weeks ago, it got released on Amazon Prime for purchase. And I said, well, that's more than actually what I expected for the film. But I do know
I think that's
but
incredible.
I do know that I had to compete. So I submitted for the Telly Awards, and we
Mhm.
were able to do one festival before the release, Indie Vegas Film Festival, which we won Best Feature. And
Uh-huh.
actually, it's going to be showcased also at Bollywood Hollywood Film Festival in Las Vegas on September 5. And
Oh,
even
wonderful.
though they know that it's available out there, they still want to showcase it because they think the story can relate to a lot of people. And I'm not
Yeah.
one because as an
Yeah.
indie filmmaker, you have goals, but you're trying to be realistic as well that it's a low budget film. But
Mhm.
I know in my heart that we did the best acting we can do on this film, and I'm not
Mhm.
going to stop. So the plan is to be able to compete at the Emmys as well. So hopefully we get the opportunity to do that. So a lot of filmmakers in the country can see this story, because I think the strength of the film is the story and the acting.
Yeah, I think the story is profound. I'm curious if you think, I think some people will relate to it really like I did. And then I think some people will be a little, it'll make them think, right? And I keep thinking about people, and I'm not trying to, this is not about politics at all. But if you're a Trump supporter, if you're somebody who is for ICE, you're going to see a different perspective, especially from, is he the captain? I forget what he's the sergeant or something. I forget the guy who we see him at his home with his housekeeper, and he has to struggle with being, I forget what his title is, but he's in charge of the ICE.
He's the senior ICE officer of the team. And it's a twist in the movie, but I just saw it in the news a few months ago that it happened to an ICE agent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, different situation, but, same outcome. The thing is that nobody's really bad on this film, but these situations can happen. And that's why they need to be aware that even though they are law enforcers, they still have to follow the law. And that, but it also highlights that they are people and they can make mistakes.
Right. And following the law can't be, well, I don't know, because that's the question, right? Is the law that you're following correct? Especially when you're at your own home and you get called out on the same thing. It's an interesting part of the movie that I found fascinating.
And I think, because the law, they're made by humans, and humans are not perfect.
Right.
So is it the correct enforcement law or not? That's debatable.
Well, he does that at the beginning too. He's like, "Are you sure?" Like, there's that moment where he's like questioning, I know these are the orders we're given, but are you sure we're going to go after the homeless people? Like, he even asks that question in the film.
Because his character is showing his human side. Is it moral? Do we have to put more burden on these people that are really struggling, and they are probably in the worst situations compared to everybody else,
right?
And that was the struggle in his heart, that can I do this? But then he was bound to do it. And that's where it kind of evolved.
Right. Yeah. No spoilers. No, just kidding. I'm trying to stop you from saying too much.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me just make sure I've gone through all my questions. Yeah, I know. I'm like, don't tell them what happened. Okay. I wanted to ask you a question. Okay. So independent filmmaking is notoriously extremely difficult. You successfully brought this project. I have here that you went through Indigo campaign to complete the feature. Is that true?
I tried. No, and I failed massively because I did not get, not a single person in Indigo.
Okay, so some ways, just so our audience knows, some ways in which people try to raise money is they use different platforms to try to raise money. When that didn't work, you just went to your friends and said, "Hey, this is what I want to do." Is that how it happened?
Yes, because I found that extremely hard because I'm not. It was my first time trying to do it, and I did not get.
Yeah, but you succeeded. Do you know how many people I know who have been in this industry forever who keep talking about making a film and they don't do it? So you keep saying it's your first time, and I totally get it, but your perseverance and the way in which you did it. You got an award. You have Amazon.com. We can go and see the film. We can purchase it. Like, you actually accomplished it. So I love your humility, but I'm over it. Like you're a director. You've actually made a film. And I say, bravo. I'm so happy to meet you at this time, because you're not done,
I'm not
right?
done. Yes, we are actually. I'm in collaboration with a few filmmakers in Las Vegas, where they've done some really good films with A-list actors. Because my next film now is about law enforcement. Because when I was in law enforcement, I was in the gang unit. I was even,
Oh,
yes.
really?
So I was, I did some undercover work, and also I was sent to the Philippines for a case as a Las Vegas. So all this in my head, I'm like a database of bad things that I can't tell anyone. I'm gonna somewhat create something that have never been seen before in law enforcement. So that is the next project that we're trying to develop.
Wow, I'm so excited. I'm looking forward. You'll come back to talk about that
Absolutely, I
as
would love
well.
to.
But yeah, no, I'm so excited to meet you now, because I think, and I know I keep saying this, but I think there's so much negativity in the world. And so when you meet someone like yourself, I'm so grateful that you came on the show. But when I meet somebody with your background, it's like I said before, it's very inspiring. And you embody what my shows are all about, which is all about the joy, right? Just having this ability to tell a story and find the joy in it anyways. And I have to tell you, the touching part for me will continue to be that homeless moment, the community that was built, that you portrayed, that you showed, and someone who's lived the life that you have lived and still can find the pearls of joy in it. That's what it's about.
And I think a lot of people do things without passion. I do everything with passion. If you do it passionately, and make sure that my goal is very clear in my head. I know that I will finish this film, whatever it takes.
Oh,
And I'm also a believer of, if you make a film, even though you paid all the actors and the crew, I think you owe it to those actors to show it. So a film
yes.
that doesn't come out, in my belief, I think some people will disagree, uh, is a waste of time for everybody. So
Listen, I've been in a few films. I've been in a few films that have never been shown, right? It was early in my career when I was doing acting. I, came out here and I did 3 films. They're never going to be shown.
I have a film that's about to come out, and it's been 5 years, right? That's a long time for an indie film. And I think there's a lot of hesitation for people. Is it going to be the right one? Will people like it? Well, I learned quickly, guess what? Most of the people don't like it, but there are people who's going to like it, and those are your audience, and you need to find them.
Yeah. And also, the person, when you started this interview, you talked about you went to certain filmmakers and they didn't want to work with, I don't know what the word was you said, but it was a word that I didn't like, whatever. What was it you said?
It was
Inexperienced or something.
Yeah, mediocre.
Mediocre. And here's what I'm going to say. I was just on LinkedIn. It's so interesting. And there are so many quote unquote filmmakers on there that I know who have not made a film yet. Right? Like they're so negative, whatever. And I bet you those would be the same people that would say something like that to you, which is why I would never want to work with them or have them on my show, or because it's that weird, how dare you? Right. Like, if you have passion or you have the ability to help someone, even if they wanted to consult with you, even if they just wanted to share with you, to talk about it as being mediocre or being, well, you're just new, you're showing me who you are. You're showing me exactly who you are, and I want nothing to do with people like you, you know? So I'm glad that it inspired you, that it made you do it anyways, because most people would
Would
give
give
up
up.
that.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that
Uh,
make sense? They would give up. They would feel small. They would feel
and
terrible.
I think it's because of, being in the military and being a police officer
Yeah.
before. We are mission oriented. We have to do
Yes.
the mission, and if it's not perfect, you're gonna find some obstacles, but you have to find that solution. And I think that's where it's coming from. And also, I was born and raised in the Philippines, and when I migrated here
Mhm.
back in 1991, we were poor growing up. So, whatever opportunity you get presented to is a blessing, and you really
Mhm.
have to do your best, to capture that opportunity, because it doesn't happen to a lot of people. And I was one of the blessed Filipinos who was able to migrate here to the United States. A lot of people there are suffering, and I think I saw this opportunity, and I said, not everybody has this. So, I'm going to show them that they can. For people like me who are not in the spotlight, that you have to make it. You have to create your opportunity, because it might not come from others, and that's why I did it.
Yeah, I'm going to be mean to you again and say, and say, I know that you have this graciousness, this kindness, this humility to also give credit to others and to say, oh, it was such an opportunity. But there is something within you that is really beautiful, that shines through, that is a gift you've been given, that you're sharing. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that, and I'm not trying to be condescending. It's just, I guess I'm getting to a point in my life, Maynard, where I am so tired of not giving people their full on credit. You're sharing, you clearly have skills, and you have innate passion and joy, and you're sharing it. And that's all you. I don't care what the circumstances. I feel like no matter where you were or are, you would have found a way to do what it is you need to be doing in life. So my apologies, but I had to just put that
Thank
out
you.
there,
Thank you. Actually, I take that as a compliment. Thank you so much for that. Um, when I
Absolutely.
was in the military, and I was faced with a very difficult problem, and there's this one person that told me this. He said, "Whatever you do it with your heart,
Mhm.
because you can
For
never go
sure.
wrong." And I carry the asset, because it doesn't matter if you fail or succeed. You do it with your whole heart, then it's the right one.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
and I try to follow that with whatever endeavor I take, and I'm lucky that a lot of people appreciate that. But I think it's one way of expressing things with wholeheartedly, that people
Hmm.
accepts, because it's honest.
It's on, and it's authentic. It's
Yes.
authentic. Maynard, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to developing our relationship. I want to see your next project. I want to support you however I can. I just feel really honored to have met you. And everyone, please go check out the film. It's on Amazon.com. I'll put the link at the bottom. It's called The Sanctuary. You know the website?
The website is, yes, thesanctuaryfilm.com, if they want to go to the website.
So everyone go check out the website. It's thesanctuaryfilm.com. The link is in at the bottom here. And please remember, at the end of the day, it really is all about the joy. And we'll see you next time. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for stopping by. All About the Joy. Be better and stay beautiful, folks. Have a sweet day.